Hey, everybody. I thought I snuck in and nobody would notice.
Oh, there you go.
No, your face is right there.
Uh-oh.
That's what we want. Okay. I'm hoping the rest of the show, we've got a lot of stuff on the agenda tonight. So anybody got their garden started, cleaning out the old weeds and stuff?
Well, I
Stephen, Stephen did a
uncovered my
little bit this
flowers.
morning with me, or I did with him.
Mm,
Too cold.
It
Yeah,
is
yeah.
cool. It
Snow
doesn't
all
feel
melted?
right yet.
Has the snow
That's
all
a
melted? I'm still down in Westchester. Is the snow all melted?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Good. Okay, good.
It's just chilly, that's all.
Been maple
How about you,
syruping.
Skip?
So
Did you
that's
get your garlic stuff ready?
Well, you put that in the fall and
Mhm.
it has stuck its head up. Started 3 or 4 days
Oh,
ago.
uh-huh.
So it's
Cro
So
Crocuses
what
are
are,
coming up.
oh,
Yeah,
is that what the yellow, I've seen a lot of little yellow flowers. Are
Yes,
those
and white.
crocuses?
it might be daffodils.
Daffodils?
Maybe.
They're
No.
My
short,
no,
crocuses,
there's
my
short little
there's
crocuses.
little
ones.
there's littler things that come
Yeah,
up
they're little ones, right?
instead of
Oh,
bluebells there. I don't know.
Yellow bells.
I bet you Leslie could tell us.
my crocuses are, a lot of them are in bloom.
They're pretty.
They think everything's going to be fine.
With the
Yeah,
crocus.
I've seen them in February on a sun facing side of a house,
Uh-huh.
late February.
So what are the Leslie, what are the little yellow flowers that are coming up now?
I don't know.
Okay.
I haven't seen.
Somebody said they had little yellow.
Yeah, I saw a bunch of them in Kingston on my way to work.
Yeah,
Little short, little yellow.
take a picture and often Google can tell you
Okay.
from AI or I like Seek, the application app Seek. It's good.
Oh, yeah, I got that.
It's good. Yeah, try it. Little yellow flowers that are not dandelions, I assume.
Right. No.
Oh, I know.
I've seen them too. They kind of look like they come up at the same time, the blue ones, but the little blue guys.
Right.
Oh, the little bluettes. Yeah.
Almost like buttercups or I
Yeah.
don't know.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
iNaturalist could answer the questions, I'm sure.
Okay. So before we get started, there's kind of a housekeeping thing. Kevin sent all you emails, but there's been problem with people getting emails, so he sent it to every email of every person that he had. So it's a very long list. So it'd really be good to shorten that list, and so you don't get it multiple times. If you let Kevin know what your preferred email is, so he can shorten that list, and you won't be getting doubles. And he's also assured that everybody gets that meeting announcement. So if you do that, that would be great.
Okay. So that sort of similar to that is that I noticed that there were a lot of emails today to my Octagon one, and I really do need to have it at work too because I just don't see it until I get here. So if people don't mind sending it to both Octagon and to C Furman, I'd really appreciate that. Thank you. I'm
right.
still
Well,
working. I know I can't get
yeah,
out of it.
once I get, the appropriate email, proper email list, then anybody seeing an email from me to the group can hit reply and change the subject if they choose to do so, but then they're assured that they're sending it to all the right addresses.
Good point.
Okay, so speaking of having the announcement, the minutes were there. Does anybody have any changes that they'd like to do to the minutes?
Skip, I don't know if everyone got the same minutes that I did, but the minutes that I got had strikeouts in them, and they had some of the text was in green where some editing had taken
Yes.
place, and I think one was in red. So I don't know if, well, my point is that before they go to the town to be posted on the CAC website, that those changes be made correctly.
Yeah, I've already reformatted it, Mary.
Oh, good. Thanks, Kevin.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so all in favor of approving the minutes? Aye?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Okay, do we have any guests here? I guess Mary's not here, and I was hoping Stephanie could come because we've got some things to talk about, but I guess she's not here, so. Okay, so First thing is Climate Smart Task Force. So Mary's been working on the CCAP and I guess wants a final look over for, any errors, any spelling errors, punctuation errors and stuff like that. Do you want to speak to that, Mary?
Yeah, I did send out back in, I guess, Tuesday evening or maybe Wednesday morning, I sent out the draft. And for some reason, my emails are going out, but any email I have sent out with an attachment has not gone out. So on Wednesday, I sent it out. I sent out one and then I sent out another one and I copied myself to make sure, it went through. It did not go through. There is some kind of a glitch in my computer at this point that I have to resolve. So to follow up on what Skip has said, what I'm going to do is when I get the glitch out of my computer, I will send you the final draft. And what I'm really, really looking for is proofreading. And when I say proofreading, typo, spelling, grammar, no rewrites. The thing is done in terms of rewrites, but
Okay.
I think I mentioned to you before, I am so close to it right now, I can't see it anymore. So in fact, I was going through it one time on Tuesday or Wednesday, I found a typo. So anyway, if you can please do that. And we don't have to come back and discuss it again. Anything you pick up, just send to me. I'll make the change. I'll send it to Skip to send to the town board for approval. So please, everybody, you're great proofreaders, so I'm really relying on you. Yeah, so that's just it. And no other comments on the task force business.
And one thing would be interesting to know once we send it, and this I'm going to direct this at Bill, is that one of our suggestions and one of the biggest pollution things has to do with solar. And our suggestion is there that a task force be put together to deal with that. So it'll be interesting to know what the town board, as the town board goes over this, their reaction to that, because that's one of the major things that will have to be dealt with. I mean, if we're going to deal with that 17%, which is their share of greenhouse gases, that knowing if that task force can be put together, it might even be crucial in the passing of the CCAP. If they're not willing to do that, then it's water over the dam about CCAP. So that would be really an interesting thing to find out once it's presented.
Okay, I'll bring it up. Does anybody know about Solite very much? I've been noticing over the years that their piles of slag or whatever that stuff's called that they produce has gotten enormous. But this last year, it's greatly reduced. It's way down. And I wonder does anybody know? Are they phasing out or anything?
No, and I think just to that point, Bill, if the town board appoints a group task force to look into this, we could certainly get that question answered. But also just following up on that, we did put it in the plan, but we did talk about among ourselves that in terms of the task force, a representative, of course, from Solite, maybe the town board, the CAC, the DEC, because the DEC gives them the permit. So the composition of the task force is something that the town, of course, will want to consider. But those were provisions in it that we considered, and who would be appropriate to serve on that group.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I drive by there pretty much every day, not by it itself, but off of I-87, and I can see the plumes of smoke. So they're still cooking, and often it's black, which means that it's spewing out particles, but at least they've been combusted properly. Sometimes it's brown though, and that means that it's not combusted properly. And from my understanding, and that those are the things that can pollute the air even worse than black soot. So anyway, I think it's something that I would love to see a task force deal with.
Just to follow up too, in terms of the CCAP and the town board, the other provision, a recommendation in the CCAP is that the town board appoint someone to oversee the implementation of the plan. That's going to be really important. If we've got a plan, we don't want it to sit there. Somebody's got to take responsibility for overseeing that the different recommendations are implemented. And I know we're going to talk later on about the position of the Climate Smart Task Force Coordinator. So we'll talk about that in detail, I think, later when we talk about perhaps the responsibilities of a coordinator. But that's going to be really important, Bill, that somebody is there making sure it gets, that moves it along and makes sure, some of the or all of the recommendations are getting
Right.
implemented.
Right. Okay, thanks.
Okay. Speaking of the Climate Smart Task Force Coordinator, we have to speak of that. Now, Linda has sat in and kind of being the figurehead right now. She doesn't feel that she can take on that job full time. And then in conjunction with that, we got some outreach from NYSERDA questioning the town about how the new CEC might meet some of our needs. And that form was passed on through Mary to Greg Chorvis, who's filled out that form. I was under the impression that CEC as a program had been discontinued. And when I click on the information Mary sent about the website for that, it says that, but apparently it's not. And apparently they want feedback. So that's, getting that feedback is in progress. And it's really good to know. I was really surprised, and pleasantly, when Mary said, "Oh yeah, I think Greg Chorvis would be interested in filling this form out." And he was, and he did. So we've got people in town that are interested in this program, and town employees who are want to get involved and want to make input into it. So that's really important.
What does CEC stand for again? I should know, but CEC, climate, everything starts with C, but I.
Clean Energy Community, I
Energy.
think.
Okay.
Yes, clean energy communities.
Okay.
Right. So, and then there's a clean energy communities thing, which is the earliest thing we got involved in. There was 5 or 6 things that we did, and we got $5,000 to do that. And then there's the CSC. Mary has her hand up.
I just wanted to clarify.
So,
Wait. Let Mary talk.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to clarify what they do every year. They make some changes every year. So what they're doing now is looking to make the changes for 2026. And so it was confusing because it looked like they were not doing anything if you looked at the website, but they are revising it. And the other point I wanted to make is that having somebody at town hall, like Skip asked me to fill out the questionnaire, and the question and respond. And when I looked at it, okay, I can do a bit of this, but I'm not at town hall. I don't know what they're looking at. I don't know what the needs really are in terms of the different departments. So it was so key and so important that Greg stepped up and filled out that questionnaire because he's eyes on the ground. I'm, how many degrees separated. So having Greg there and being interested and filling out that, I think is going to be great for the town.
Bill, you want to make a comment?
Oh, I did when you get to the position description.
Okay, so
Just have a comment
it's
on it.
important that we, then there also the outreach from the Hudson Valley Regional Council. You remember that they really helped Mary out when she was coordinator, and her name was Eleanor Peck at the time, who was the representative there. She was very helpful in guiding us through, very helpful. And they have, again, reached out under Evelyn
Laferriere,
right? And reaching out, and I attached that request thing to the meeting minutes so you can see what they want. So they're very interested in partnering with us, and they're being paid, I guess, by the Ulster County to do that, to help the town out, to grant right to go through all these CEC or CSC, actions to help us do it. So that's really positive too. So we've got a town employee and we've got that help out there. So, but why we were so successful before was Mary took the reins of that coordinator and it became a part-time job. We also had, as well as the people on CAC, we also had Patty Kelly and Susan Murphy, and I forget someone else, who were all involved in that. And we got really a lot done. But we don't have those human resources anymore. And we don't have a coordinator, a full-time coordinator. So we need to do that. And so Stephanie Bassler had written me and said, hey, I see this outreach. She had gotten the same outreach and suggested that somebody from CAC do it. Well, that would be a coordinator to get that information. And she said, organize. So I had a long conversation with her about that. And I told her the history, who had been involved, and that early on, Vernon Benjamin had actually been helpful to us. He had a position, I think, as special projects coordinator or something.
He
Yeah.
was,
Special operations.
Kathleen has it. Go ahead,
Yeah,
Kathleen.
Special operations.
Right. And he was very helpful. He really helped us. I think he kicked us in the butt about CEC and got us going and helped us out there. Unfortunately, Vernon passed. Damn him. And, that position has not been filled yet. So whether the town is willing to fill that again, I brought that up with Stephanie and with Bill also, that's a possibility that since we don't have the resources here, and because these programs have been so helpful to the town, that if they reinstitute that position, at least part of that job description could be the coordinator. They would have really close connection to the town and like the department heads like Bragg's and know the needs, and also have a connection with us to be able to relate that information that Hudson Valley Regional Council is offering. Not that we should step out, but that coordinator position, that's a big thing to do. There's many towns that have a town employee who is that coordinator. I mean, the people who have the silver standing now, for example, Kingston has a person who is the environmental coordinator for the town of Kingston. Happens to be the mayor's wife, but it's a paid position. And there's several other towns that have that. And on the other hand, Stephanie asked, is this a paid position or a volunteer position? Well, up to now, for us, it had been Mary in an unpaid position. And there's other towns like Marbletown, who has Tom Conrad, who's also an incredible person who does, I think he does investment banking for renewable projects. I mean, he's really up there and really involved. And he's the head of their climate, and he's a volunteer. So we either have to find a person who's willing to volunteer that's of that stature, or we have to hire somebody who will be encouraged by that to become, that position for the town, and also take on the Climate Smart Task Force coordinator position. At least that's my suggestion. So Mary has her hand up.
Yeah, I just wanted to make the point to tie some things together here. In addition to Vernon being very helped in many environmental matters for the town. I mean, going back to the solar farm, as you mentioned, getting us involved in CEC, but also he wrote the grant. He was a grant writer. He wrote grants for the town. So putting two things together, the CSC is a grant program for the town, and the CEC is a grant program for the town. So I just want to make the point that if the town does determine to hire somebody, that person, if they determine to hire someone who would be the grants person and also work with the CEC, it all ties together is what I'm trying to say. So just to keep that in mind.
Now we can hear from the former grants writer, Kathleen.
Yes, right. Well, my position now is special operations coordinator. When Vern was doing the grants, he told me that he had the administration go to the department that got the grant. I'm doing all the administration for the grants that we've gotten over the last 6 years. So that's why I can't do more grant writing right now. It's just too complex. And if you are going to have someone hired as a special operations coordinator, if they're going to be the idea person and the point person and getting people together and getting projects going, they're not going to have the time to do what I'm doing now, the grant administration. It's more work than the grants.
That's
So,
right.
you know, but one of my suggestions to Fred has been that you have a quarterly meeting with department heads and find out what their needs are, and then the grant person can go and look for grants that would satisfy those needs. That hasn't happened. But I
And that,
think
your suggestion would mean, and one of those places they'd go look would be CEC or CSC.
every place available, yes. Hudson Valley Regional Council is great at sending emails about grant opportunities. And I have one today I want to talk to you about later when you want new business. But that has to do with what you're doing now. But it's just very, very complex doing all the administration. The requirements are so detailed about what information they want before they'll reimburse you the money that you've spent. It's very, very complex. And right now,
You're talking about granting.
I'm talking about the grant administration. And right now, with the Saugerties Animal Shelter, we have grants from the Dormitory Authority of New York State and the Department of Agriculture. And they have extensive requirements for reporting. They want every contractor to have an equal employment opportunity policy. They want proof of that. We have to get a certain percentage of the grant from MWBE contractors. We need copies of the contract. We need the dates the work's going to be done. It's a lot. It really is a lot. And so I decided for me to be functioning at the level I have to eliminate the grant writing right now. I have to focus on the administration because we need to get that money in. We have finished with the Kings Highway Water and Sewer Project, that 3 different grants for that, all of that's in. But we're working on other things that we've gotten. And I will say the CEC grants were really not very labor intensive. Nicely. They weren't too terrible, but some of the other state grants are. They're very labor intensive. And my suggestion to Fred was that he hire a full-time person
As a grant writer.
as a grant writer and maybe some of the grant administration can go back to the department if they have staff that can do it,
Right.
because that's what's really taking up my time now is the administration. And if it's not a complex grant, I don't see why, if the department has personnel, administrative personnel, then maybe they should. But I've been doing all the administration for all the grants that we've gotten in the last 6 years, 7 years. I'll be here almost 8 years.
So you're a one-woman operation.
Right.
Understood that right, yeah.
So you're saying that in your position right now, you couldn't handle, or someone who did this full time couldn't handle CSC the Climate Smart Task Force coordinating job.
No. No, it would be way too much.
Okay.
Because you have to be on the lookout as the grant notices come out. You've got to be in touch with the department heads, find out what they need, if this matches their needs, and get information from them. And it's a process. You need to get information from the department that you're working with. And that can be time consuming. I mean, I've tried a couple of times to do something about the fleet inventory, and we've never been able to get enough of I was told it was too complex when I was trying to get that done. That was one thing we could have done, is do the fleet inventory and then do long-term planning for getting electric vehicles. But there's such detailed information they wanted in the fleet inventory, and Greg said he didn't have the time.
Okay, well, I mean, it's the same thing
So-
shows up like with dealing with the coordination of completing the actions for the CSC. It's the more we got into it, we did the low hanging stuff. And then as we got into the silver, we found out it was more and more complex. I mean,
Yeah,
so that's why you need a person that can do it full time and not simply
right.
somebody who
And
is-
you know, it's, if you think about it this way, it's over $2 million that I'm working with, that I've been working with for the past few years, and the pay for me has been maybe um for 6 years, maybe $100,000.
Oh,
well, that's a pretty good return on investment.
I would say, yes, I would say if you look at it that way, I mean, I have been asking Fred for about a year to find someone to do this.
Okay. All right.
And I know it's hard, but you won't be able to get someone for what he's paying me. It'll be more money.
Bill?
Yeah, I was just going to say, especially now, given what Kathleen just said, that maybe grant writing should be added to the one of the skills, one of the bullet points. Not only coordinating with the Hudson Valley Regional Coordinator, but some experience or somebody willing to participate in grant writing. And by the way, would it be possible to get a grant for a coordinator?
I haven't seen any opportunities during the time I've been working on this for that.
That would be a question for Evelyn.
Yeah, yeah.
Right. Now, then, but first we got to get somebody. By the way, I just sent her an email yesterday because nobody's responded for a long time.
Right.
And she came back immediately. But who's going to be the one to ask her? You know.
Right. Well, that's what we're trying to determine here.
Yeah.
Kathleen, you still have your hand up. Are you done? Are you
Oh,
finished?
no, I just didn't take it down.
Okay, Mary?
Yeah,
I'm
no,
good.
I want to come back to the point though that the grant writer, okay, the CEC and the CSC are programs that provide grants. So the grant writer responsibilities really should be, as Kathleen is saying, look at what grants are available and say, okay, this grant is available. Go to the town department heads and say, hey, there's a grant for culvert replacement. There's a grant for electric car, whatever it is. So there has to be a tie-in, whatever way it's formed. There has to be a tie-in between the CEC and the CSC and the grant person because they're intertwined.
Yeah.
And how that plays out or how that's described is the detail, but that concept really has to be out there. And as Kathleen mentioned, the CEC grants and the CEC and the CSC grants, they are not the complicated grants that Kathleen has been working on. They are much less onerous in terms of the documentation. So that's something to consider also. And then my final point is, in response to the NYSERDA, to NYSERDA in terms of the CEC program, that is one response that really has to be out loud and shout. The documentation is too detailed, it's too onerous, it's too time consuming, and that is an impediment for municipalities to participate and get the grants. And I'm sure Kathleen would agree with that.
You're talking
Yeah,
about
I just want to say one other thing about the grants while I have it on my mind. There are certain grants that have such technical information requirements, like culverts and road work, things like that. I know that culverts have been a problem since I've been here. It's like 7 years. And I do not have the technical expertise. And I told Highway Department that I don't have the technical, I'm not an engineer. They ask for things like water flow and the native species that are going through there. This is detailed information that I just don't have, and I don't have the time to research it. And I did suggest to Fred and to Ray Mayone, When they have something that has to do, that is that complex, that has to do with highway culverts, bridges, things like that, you need to hire an engineer who can help you develop that application so you have all the technical information that is needed. Because if you don't, you're really going to fall down when it comes to having a competitive grant. And they did that for the bridge that's going to be, and that was written by an engineer, I believe. And they did get that grant for, I think it was the Drummond Falls Bridge. But that's a special area. When there's a special area, like wastewater treatment plants, culverts, anything to do with water, that requires special expertise. And those kinds of grant applications require a long lead time so that you have time to get all that detailed information together.
And that's kind of the on the front end of this, although the grants aren't as hard to administer themselves, in the CSC program at least, be qualifying for the actions, which then qualifies you for the grants, have been getting more complicated. You know, we ran into that on several things. And when Rob Irizarry came on, we were doing something with septic systems and who owned, you know, private and who was on public and all that, and the statistics involved in that. And that's where we brought him on, and he jumped ship because I think it was too technical. So, even though the CSC grants themselves aren't that one, you know, applying and getting those action points that we need to be up for those grants is a difficult part. Bill Barr?
Yes, sir. Kathleen can probably help me with this. I have seen emails from a consulting company, and I think we've used, who write grants. Are you aware of any?
I know that they have used choice words.
Choice words, that's it.
Choice words.
Yeah.
It's expensive, but they do it.
Okay, well, the other, are you done, Bill? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
I'm just saying if we see a grant that looks like a you know, a real hot possibility, and we can't find anybody, you know.
If I can just jump in here, though, you know, working with an outside consulting group is one thing, but when you got somebody in-house, they've got their, you know, their what's the expression? They have the inside knowledge. They know what's going on. And when you use an outside consulting firm, they have to find out this and find out that. Whereas if someone's in-house, they're there day to day, they see Greg here and Greg says this, and they see Ray and this and that. They really have their finger on the pulse of the town. So I just wanted to put that out there as for consideration.
Ken?
Yeah, thanks, Skip. I just want to confirm, Kathleen, is it true that you cannot write in the pay for your grant writer in the grant? You have to pay them some other way.
In some grants specifically say that they will not pay for a grant writer or as a matter of fact, when we were getting reimbursed for some of the money for the animal shelter, and the engineer put in time, he was talking to me, and they wouldn't pay for that. So some grants will allow some administrative expense, and some grants will specifically say they won't pay for grant writing. But there is administrative expense, obviously, in following up with the requirements to get your money.
Okay.
The administration is a cost. It's definitely a cost to the town. I mean, they're paying me, you know. So
Yeah.
but you have to look for that. in the grant.
I guess what I was thinking was like all the legal ads, if we don't win, we don't get paid. Are there any grant writing firms where they get a percentage of it for writing it? I don't think so, but I don't know.
Okay,
Well,
so let
that's
me
not-
say, we're going a little bit out of what we were originally talking about.
Okay, sorry.
Here, we really shouldn't be talking about the grants themselves. What we're trying to do is find a Climate Smart Task Force, coordinator.
Okay,
And there was
sorry.
mention of grants involved with that, but what the main job we're here to do is to figure out how we can get a coordinator. So although this is interesting and important, it's kind of after the fact, and we need to let's get a coordinator before we start talking about how that will, go with the grant writing. So with that in mind, Carol?
Yeah, and it seems to me that there's two types of grants, one that we would get through CEC and ones that the town would get. So I think two separate things. We would be writing grants for ourselves for the climate smart and climate whatever, and then the town would have its own grant writers.
I would
Separate.
correct that in saying we are not going to be writing grants.
Oh,
Okay, you said we would be writing grants.
yeah, I thought, well, we have. No?
No.
Oh.
No, we haven't. Written
Okay.
it. We've simply qualified for certain actions vis-a-vis CEC and CSC and gotten enough points to qualify to do those grants.
Okay.
Is that right?
What we
I'm
did
wrong.
is we documented. Once the action was implemented, we documented. We got
Right.
whatever document they needed, and I posted it on the portal so that we got the grant. Yeah.
Okay. Right, but we didn't, in your case, it might have been different with Leslie, I think, but in your case, we were dealing directly with the CSC and filling out what information was necessary to qualify for an action and documenting that. Correct?
Right.
Yeah,
We doc-
Mary was
Okay, wait.
documenting,
Right, okay.
but I was also entering things for those grants.
Okay, right, yes.
Got it.
Okay, Leslie?
Yeah, just quickly, we did write the grant for the pollinator meadow and I did the documentation.
Okay.
But that wasn't a CEC grant or a CSC grant. It was a different grant. I forget, it was the climate,
No.
remember it was the climate group, Leslie? I forget the exact name.
Yep. It was, yep.
Okay.
So when Skip said we don't write grants, he meant specifically
For the CSC and the
EC and
CEC.
CS. Okay,
Right, yes.
understood. Yep.
Yeah, and those actions that we need to do to qualify to become a certain level in that hierarchy, bronze, silver, whatever. So, and have how many points we had. What we were documenting for getting those points. Excuse me. To complete those actions. So the other suggestion when Stephanie was talking about this was that she had, because of her architecture business, that she had contacts, a network, and asked that if it possibly could be another volunteer coordinator from the community, that she might be able to put out the word to attract somebody from that area, which might, be a fertile ground for finding someone. And what she wanted to know was, the coordinators' activity, what they needed to do, what their job description was, links to the CEC and the CSC website, so we get an idea of what kind of actions we'd have to do, and kind of the download of what we'd already accomplished, so that she could reach out and say, okay, here's the job, and here's where you'd go to complete the job. So Mary supplied most of that. I guess she was going to get a list of what we've done already, and we'll supply that to give that to Stephanie and see what she can find, beat the bushes, and maybe we can find a volunteer too. So
Yeah,
okay.
and I would like it too. The library board
Yeah.
has an environmental subcommittee, and the director of the library suggested I give it to her to spread the word. Also, we could just through the Saugerties Democratic Committee.
Okay. So most of that's done if Mary can, she said she was too busy at that point, but at one point, if we get that last element, that is what we've accomplished already and put that package together, then put that out wherever we can. Maybe we can find somebody who wants to take that on. Because it's very rewarding if you've got the time.
Yeah, I have that information, what we accomplished already, but it gets complicated because some of the actions or some of the actions have expired. They expire every so often. So even though we got credit for, I'll just say something, LED lighting, I don't know if that's actually expired, but if that's expired, then you got to reapply again. And a whole bunch of them have expired. So that's another, so that makes the work of the coordinator, a little bit more detailed and a little bit more work to do.
Well, that actually should be pointed out so that they know, what the challenge is.
Well, once you go to the CSC website, you can look at and see, and they'll tell, and you can go into the portal, and you can see what's expired, what's approved, what's expired, and what needs to be revised. Those are the
and do they need to have authorization to do that?
Yes, to get into the portal. Yes.
So we need to know how, if we're going to do an outreach and somebody's going to want to try to do that.
Yeah, that's easy to set up. It can be set up through Evelyn now, because when Linda came on board and volunteered to be the contact person and work on that, we got Linda in on the portal, correct? Linda, you can still go in the portal, correct? You're muted, Linda.
Are you here, Linda?
Yeah, I'm here. Sorry about that. Yeah, I don't know. I haven't gone on in a long time, so I don't know if I could still get in. And if I did, I wouldn't know how to navigate it because it's been so long since I've used it.
Okay, it's not a big deal. If somebody's interested, Evelyn can be contacted and she can work with the person to get signed in. That's
correct. Correct. That's correct.
Not difficult.
Okay, does anybody else have any comment or suggestions how we might proceed in our search for a Climate Smart Task Force coordinator? Okay, well, when Stephanie gets back, we'll transfer the information and I'll have another conversation.
You know what?
I can't talk right now.
And I can pass it on to Stephanie too, Skip.
Okay. I mean, you should be involved in this too, obviously.
Well, yeah, Stephanie.
And the reason she's involved is because she reached out to me, and then it was discovered that she thought she might have contacts through her, her profession that we might be able to scare somebody up.
Yeah, and then she called me and filled me in, and I said we'd.
Okay, well, so why don't you contact her, and if we need anything else, she needs anything else, let's get together on a three-way or something. Phone call, I should say.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So next up is Bess. So
Skip
suggested that you have a question, Kevin?
I do. I'm just for the minutes purposes. I just wanted to know if this Claudia's iPad, is that familiar to anybody, or if they could just tell me who they are?
It's probably Paul Andreessen.
Yeah.
Hello? Did anybody hear me?
Yes.
I
hear you, Stephen. But
is there anybody there on Claudia?
Muted.
Claudia, do you want to identify yourself?
He or she is muted.
Can see them.
I can see that.
Okay.
It's muted.
Well, they can drop it in the chat or something if they choose to.
Well, we should know who's there.
I think it's Paul.
Paul, is that you?
Muted.
I've
Okay.
been talking to him about
It would be nice to identify yourself so you'd be part of the group here. So, battery energy storage systems. So it's, we're obviously concerned about this. There's an informal request that maybe we make a position statement, relative to CAC. And I reached out to Stephen, to kind of head this up because he's the researcher He's our researcher. He's come up with a whole bunch of stuff. So, do you want to lead this, Steve, and talk about it? I mean, I've included a couple. There's a couple of things that he's done bullet points for. He's sent out to you some of his research with bullet points and stuff. And so you want to take it, Steve?
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Did people get the two emails? One is about the importance of BESS for renewable energy, and the other one was a review of safety issues.
Yes, I did, and I did read them.
I got them as well.
I did.
Okay. I don't think we need to go through a screen share of those, but an important thing has come up. I contacted a couple of people for more input, and one was Paul Andreessen. That's why maybe Paul is on the call, because he talked to an engineer friend who sent him something I didn't even know about, which was that in August of last year, our distinguished EPA administrator, Lee Zeldin, published an op-ed in the New York Post saying how bad BESSes are and how nobody should allow them. And I knew there was opposition from fossil fuels. Bill Barr had been looking into this, and Bill prompted me to dig more. But I didn't realize at what level it was coming. If it's coming to the people of the town of Ulster, and EPA says these are bad, this is very, very hard to deal with. But I think every argument they bring up, we can counter. And what I would suggest is, if anyone didn't have a chance to read what I sent already, I'll send it again. We can look at it, and I don't think there's a big hurry. I think this is going to go into a secret process, probably, and we get our ducks together and work out. I have a copy from the thing that Paul's friend sent of, I guess it's the gist of Zeldin's op-ed, and we can just go through every single point of that and show what's wrong with it, and then try to get that circulated, because people, this is an all-out war now. This is an attempt. The attempt to stop BESSes is an attempt to kill solar and wind, kill them dead in the water. And the success of getting BESSes through is a necessity. So it's going to be all out war, and we just have to. But I don't see anything more to do than, if you have a chance, read over the two things I sent. One is prepared as a letter to the editor. That's the one about the utility, the necessity for BESS. And it was written so that every single thing in it is a fact. I think it's ready to go as a letter to the editor. And then we're trying to work out with Skip and I, and anyone else who wants to help, is a similar letter about safety, in which every single thing will be a fact. And we could get one of those probably written by me and one by somebody else, get them in the same issue or two succeeding issues, and just start a letter to the editor campaign, I think, is one way to go. And we can use that. What we learned from doing that can be helpful to the town board, but I don't think they need, we hear from Bill and from Skip, how soon does the town board look for any input from us?
Okay.
Well, shoot. Shall I go ahead and answer?
Yeah, go
Yes,
ahead.
oh, please.
Okay, I've been promoting for the last two meetings that some a white paper, as I called it, would be forthcoming. But you know that the town board would appreciate that. But as we know, it's in the planning board's hands right now. The particular application.
Mhm.
Are you all still with me? My screen has been locking up.
Yes.
No,
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I'm with you.
Okay, but so it isn't urgent. The need isn't urgent. But it would be nice if it could be within a couple of weeks.
Okay.
Oddly enough,
Definitely do that.
just last night, I came across Zeldin's tirade
Mm,
against Bess. And if you Google opposition to Bess,
yeah,
it's one of the most dominant ones that pops up.
okay. And that was done when?
August of last
August?
year.
A while ago. Okay.
It ran in the Post. No surprise.
Naturally. You know, Zeldin liked it. He doesn't like windmills or solar panels or anything. So
Look who
if he
hired
doesn't
him.
like it, you know it's a good thing.
Right.
Mary, would you like to
We can
comment?
easily get something within a couple of weeks. And we can also do the letters to the editor. So
Well, one thing is I was at the town board meeting last night and people spoke against it. And 95% of it was people with bad information being afraid of safety.
mhm.
Both of those were evident. They were all afraid of it and they all had crazy information. And like they were, with all due respect, they really weren't coherent in their oratory. They were all over the place. So to get facts out about safety, to get it out there in the paper, I think is important because if it hangs in the air there, then it's just left. Only one person spoke positively about Bess last night, and 4 or 5 spoke incoherently against it. So we have to, that whole thing about the information, facts don't count anymore, is really evident. That as soon as the facts die, so does, any kind of reality. So
Right.
I think we need to, or I do personally, but I think it would be helpful to counter that because that's why there's, if there's anything positive to do about it, we've got to, have the truth out there. So, and that's the most important thing we have to do, not saying yes or no, but bringing the truth to bear. And when the truth is to bear, then you can see the reason for or against. Mary?
Yeah, on the issue of safety, I have a question, Stephen. My understanding is that NYSERDA or the state had a working group that came out with recommendations for the code that would be used for the storage areas. And my understanding is that they finished in July of 2025. So my question is, do you know how many installations have taken place since this code was adopted? And how many of those that have been adopted under the code, for how long have they been adopted? And what is the safety record of those storage areas that have been working under this code? Because I think that's important.
Great idea.
Because as we know, the incidents of fire, et cetera, and malfunction occurred mostly in the past before this new code was adopted. So it would be really important to say the code was adopted, this number of installations have been in place for this long, and there have been no safety issues, or there has been 1 or 2 or whatever the evidence shows. Do you happen to know how many have been operating under the new code?
I think you're speaking of the New York State Fire Code, which actually was adopted in July, but it wasn't officially put in place until January of this year. But even if it had been adopted in July, there wouldn't be enough experience with facilities designed before it. So we really have to, our argument will be saying that the major accidents that caused greatest concern took place in facilities that were in many ways not meeting the kinds of standards that are imposed today. But it will take a lot more time, several years, before anything comes on that's completely in accord with the new code. So we have to show people what the new standards are calling for, how much tougher they are, and take it from there.
Yep.
Yeah, I understand that, but I think that's cautionary for the town. I think that's very cautionary because we should be able, we're saying that this new code is going to be more effective, okay, but how effective? And I mean, I'm going back to the cannabis business when the town had to decide whether or not to opt out of a cannabis law. And that was just put in place. The cannabis board was just, members were just named to it. There was no real rules. There was no real regulation. And subsequently, we found out things about cannabis, which if we had known, the town opted out, which was fine, but that information, the information was not available back then. So my point being that I think it would be really helpful to know that this new code that's in effect is really effective. That's really my point. And that probably could take time. And the other point is, we don't know how these storage areas are being assessed. We don't even know that yet. They're talking about maybe a pilot, but we don't know what the assessment is going to be. And I think that's an important issue for the town to be aware of. What is the revenue to the town in terms of taxes payment from this? Bill?
Yes.
Mary, we spoke to Paul Williamson, the KCE chap, and he said that various municipalities have different ways of making the assessment, and they didn't really think that they could come up with an assessment for several years. So there will be basically a pilot. They estimate it at about $300,000 a year, but that's ballpark figure. And as the municipal codes and taxation plans shape up, an assessment will loom. Does that sound right, Skip? You
Yes.
were at the same meeting.
Yes, I say this is such a new technology. There's no real way of making assessment. You got a bunch of tractor trailer trucks on the thing, but then they have batteries, which is a new thing. How do you assess that? So what they're trying to do is they're creating, as they go along, they're creating the assessment to.
But the pilot is in lieu of taxes, right?
But yeah, but that doesn't mean they're not paying taxes. They are. They're talking about somewhere around $260,000 a year at this point. It's not. It's in lieu of taxes, but that means they're not paying anything. They are paying something.
That doesn't make any sense.
People have a weird idea that payment in lieu of taxes is like they're not paying any taxes. That's absolutely not true. They're
So
paying
where does the revenue? Where does the 300,000 go?
to the town.
Town coffers.
To the town coffers. Yes,
So is that for property tax?
Yeah.
that's what they're trying. That's
I understand.
that. Yes.
Okay, so
Yes.
then there's on top of that, there will also be revenue from the kilowatts that they're providing back to Central Hudson. And
Right.
that is also something that will go to the town. Some percentage will go to the town of that.
Right. Yes.
So, and they said it could go into the millions.
Right. And there's also community support programs that they're going to do also. So, when people say pilot, everybody go, oh God, they're not going to pay any tax. They're not going to pay any tax. It's not true. It's just that the assessment hasn't been established, percentage assessment hasn't, but they are paying something and they're paying a significant amount.
But my only point is that so much of this is preliminary in terms of the effectiveness of the code, in terms of what the actual revenue to the town will be. So that's my only point.
I can speak partly to that. The new testing protocols are they take these things to pass code. They actually take them and test them.
I know, I read all about it. I know what it says.
Right. So it's not like it's a total unknown. They've actually stressed them, caught them on fire, that's the testing that the UL and the other, I forget what the other thing is called.
No,
So
I
there
know,
is-
and then
there's
they
stress
test, and then they retest, and they approve, and then they retest. I know, I read all of that, but we
Right.
still don't know in practice yet how these storage units perform under the code. We really don't know.
Well, you won't know until you do it, but I mean,
That's right.
that's the proof. It's like they're putting him in a real life situation, in a stress situation, and putting him under duress, catching him on fire, and seeing if they'll do what they're supposed to do. And if they do it there, that until they do it there, they're not allowed to put it on site. And one thing in the worst case, Warwick, for example, that was called a successful failure in that it caught on fire. It did exactly what it was contained to one thing. It burned itself out. It did not go anyplace else. There was no residue outside the perimeter of the facility. And that was before these stringent codes.
No, I know all of that. I know all of that, but I'm just,
I don't understand what more you can ask of it. What are you asking to do?
to see real life experience.
But you can't do that until you put it into the real life.
Well, but to see real life experience in the terms of town A, town B, town C, town D. They all put in these storage units. They have all, I didn't say storage units, I didn't mean that. Storage units. I'm in another world. Anyway.
The storage system.
Okay, 5 different towns put in the battery storage units. And in all of those 5 towns, there was not one incident of failure under this code. That's what I'm saying.
Okay, but the code just came in, so you don't have that yet.
Right. So I'm saying going forward, I said it's cautionary. Going forward, it would be nice to know that in real life, this code is performing. I know I read all about the tests, I read all about that, but in real life, that these storage areas are performing safely under the code. That's my only point. I'm done.
Okay, well, you can't do that. You can't do that unless we do that, unless somebody does that. You don't know that. So
No, I'm saying it's preliminary. A lot of this is preliminary. We don't know yet, and we're not going to know for maybe, as Stephen said, 3, 4, 5 years till they're operative. And Sorgadis will perhaps be one of the towns that will do it and prove or not prove it to be prove or not prove the code to be meeting the expectations.
Bill,
I did ask Paul, was his name Ruben?
William.
Williams, yeah, thank you. I was the hydrologist. If any of their batteries have ever caught fire, the ones they're going to install. And he said no.
Correct.
So there is that. We got that. I mean, it's not anything to compare, but
they've been in business since they've had installations since 2016, have operational since 2018, and they've never had a battery fire incident ever.
Yeah.
And that was under the what code was
Well,
that?
they're obviously because the new code didn't go into effect till January.
Right.
Obviously, they were under the old codes, but even under the old codes, they've had no incident.
he did say that in the past years, this is anecdotal from him. I didn't see anything in writing about this. He said there was a time when South Korea was really promoting the sale of batteries, and then they ramped up production, and it looks like their quality control slipped, and almost all of the fires, according to Paul, were from LG batteries that were sold during that time.
Mm-hmm.
So apparently the manufacturer does make a difference.
And all those have to be tested now. So,
Right.
Elizabeth?
Yes. Well, one thing I'd say, it may sound an attenuated comment, but my field has always been in nuclear safety, and there you can't really test a nuclear weapon without the chance of setting off a war. And
This is not a
overly
nuclear
testable.
weapon.
So I know. So my point is that this is much more testable, this whole issue, whereas in the nuclear field, you can't without raising safety issues. So I would say it's an argument for the testing of the storage batteries.
Which they do. Okay. Nicole?
I don't know what the history is of these kind of batteries, but like, aren't other countries using them all over the place that are way more advanced than us and having success with it? And maybe we could point that out, that in these countries, there's thousands of these batteries and they're operating, they're not on fire. And
amongst the information that was passed out and in Seidman's presentation, there is a graph showing failure over the years and how it's dropped dramatically. If you want to go into that, maybe I can send you that particular one. But if you go into his presentation, they addressed that specifically. And they showed a graph of how, as the things improved and as it came up to present, the number of fires dropped. And this is all over the world, dramatically. And right now, the incidence of fire is 0.06%.
okay.
That's 1 every 35 years. That's also the incidence, he compared it with the incidence of restaurant fires, which is 1.7%.
And what about fires from like,
Stop, let me finish.
okay.
So that's a factor of 30 times less likely to catch fire than a restaurant. And are you
Okay.
afraid to live next to a restaurant?
About the
That was
same-
one of the comparisons.
about the same as houses.
And how about like gas, tanks, propane tanks?
Well, that wasn't anything because the subject was what was the incidence of fire with the BESS, and the graph is dramatic.
All right.
And then if you have that information, it's one of Seidman's things. So if you don't have it, let me know, and I'll try to pull that graph out and send it to you because there is that information, and it does show incredible amount of increase in safety, especially since 2022, the last 3 or 4 years. It's really a steep thing. I was next to a guy who was at the one thing that Key Capture put on. I was standing next to a fireman. So I wanted to find out, he was listening to one of their, people who were explaining stuff. And I reached out to him and said, I see you're a fireman. What do you feel about this? And he says, you know what? I really researched this. He was really, he really had his stuff together. And he showed me these papers. He says, I'm looking at this. And since 2022, there's been hardly anything that's happened. And this was a guy who was going to have to deal with this. This is a fireman who was from Centerville. And he'd researched it, and he'd found that the incidence of fire was incredibly down, and he felt they could handle it easily. So, that's just, a chance meeting with a person, but there are anywhere from Seidman's graphs to this local guy who says that safety has really, really improved. And people are afraid because they hear about moss and they hear about these older things. Thing is like hearing about a Pinto catching on fire. Yeah, they used to catch on fire, but we don't drive those anymore. So that's, the cars we're driving. We shouldn't stop driving cars now because Pinto's caught on fire. So anyway, Mike?
I guess you're in favor. Okay. First of all, Stephen, a question. I think in reading, California and Texas have quite a few of these installations already. Speaking of Mary needing history, it's been going on in the other states. In fact, in Texas, it's really stabilized the grid and avoided problems. So there is history in terms of these facilities. The other question that I wonder about is Bill seems to be asking us to put forth something to the town board. And I think it's time to do that, to take Stephen's research and put something together. And I would also suggest that be presented at the town board. If there needs to be some point bringing out the facts. And as Skip is saying, there's a lot of stuff going out to the public that's not factual. And I think it's our responsibility to put out the facts. And the town board will then make their decision. We're advisory, and I think we should advise.
I don't think you'll have a decision coming up very soon, Mike, but I'm all in favor of our working together to prepare a white paper on facts. Basically trying to rebut some of the misconceptions or outright lies that are being floated by the opposition. This is a knockdown, drag out fight. But we can also work on some letters to the editor and other outside our municipality.
Yes, one other thing, a cautionary thing that I've seen is that at the state level, the governor is really putting some brakes on. She's indicating that, well, we can't just force this on people, and she's pushing towards nuclear energy.
Yeah.
And so there's that. It's not only Zeldin and the Republicans trying to keep the gas going. We're also starting to see a push towards nuclear energy, which would tremendously interfere with the push towards the climate issues that we're talking about. So we have to also watch the governor. And be advocates in that way, certainly to stop the move towards nuclear.
There's a big rally in Albany on the 25th.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe some of us should try to get a carload together. I'll look.
Carol?
I love the idea of rebutting some of the misconceptions in a white paper or something for the town board, but also the town board continues to have workshops. And there's going to be another one on March 25th, actually.
Really? Where?
At 10 o'clock. At 10 o'clock.
Where?
At the, good question, at the conference room in the building department.
Now, is this another zoning get together?
No. I don't know. It's Adriana and Ivino and maybe Stephanie, I don't know. And I asked to be there, and I think you're there too, right?
No, that's the meeting that Skip and I attended.
Yes.
Last month. That's not a presentation to the public.
No,
it's a non-quorum meeting. And she did mention, Adriana did mention that Skip was going to be there, maybe you too, Mike.
We went to the last one, and it was
you're
a
not-
discussion. It was a discussion of how to develop zoning.
Oh, my understanding was that this was going to be a workshop about BESS and some of the issues.
Well, the last
I'll
one we
find
went to that Adriana was at, and Alvy was there, and his assistant building inspector, and Lazarios, who was the town engineer, and Ivino, and Stephanie was there, and the discussion was about creating a
Location.
zoning law.
Okay, around location of BESS?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Yeah. How to do the zoning, because just like the assessment,
Mhm.
the zoning hasn't been created for it. It's like,
Right.
this is a whole new thing, so
Right.
how do we create zoning?
Right.
And they, I don't know if I passed this around also, but there was a sample law from Poughkeepsie that they put up, and also a model law from NYSERDA to work from to create this zoning, special use zoning law.
Well, it wasn't only for
Exciting.
this.
I'm sorry?
It was town zoning because
Yeah.
there would be different tiers, and there are situations where a private business could have a battery. For instance, they mentioned the tennis courts
Mhm.
where they have a solar arrays at Total Tennis, and they could actually set up a battery storage unit and be totally self-contained in generating their own electricity. So it's not only for BESS, it's for all different tiers of
All tiers of
collection.
battery storage
It's
systems.
still best. It's
It's
just
still
different.
batteries, right?
Yeah, it's still, different sizes.
Yeah.
Right.
So, there's residential ones and yeah.
Commercial on up.
But that isn't a public hearing on BESS
no.
itself. It's
No.
a workshop. That for some reason they didn't want to call it a workshop, but in effect, it's like a workshop, working out, making suggestions to one another of how to create a zoning that would, facilitate different size, different tier BESS installation.
So are you guys going to be there on?
I guess so. I hadn't. Had you gotten an invite, Mike?
Well, they set up the meeting at the meeting.
They did. Okay.
Yeah, Mike Ivino set it up for the 25th
At 10.
and 30.
Oh, 10:30?
I believe that's what he said.
Okay.
God, another meeting.
Well, I plan to be there, so I'll be on Teams at attending.
Yes, 10:30.
10:30? Okay, thank you.
Okay. Does anybody have any other comments on this? One thing that's also coming from the state, which isn't specific to BESS, but is solar and all renewables, is they're putting legislation through, I believe it's in the Assembly and in the Senate, that the permitting process would happen at the state level rather than the local level, which is really scary in terms of people are going to react to that like they're taking our local, laws away from us and making a decision somewhere in Albany. And although it isn't specific, it didn't say anything plus or minus about BESS, as we're thinking, it's really going to enrage local people that this ability to have local, control over their permitting is being taken away. We have to be wary of that. There's not much we can do about it other than say no. But, local laws are going to be usurped by this, I think. Mary?
Yeah, just a question on that. Are you saying permitting or site? You said permitting.
Yes.
Is it citing? Is it citing?
Permitting. That's what they said. I sent everybody, there was an article in the Davie Freeman today, and I sent it to everybody a couple hours ago.
Yeah, I didn't get to see it, but I guess
that will explain what it is.
So when they say they will permit it, does that mean they get to say where the site is?
I can't answer that question.
Because that's really scary.
Well, look at the article and then they said permitting.
Well, the
So I don't know what that means, but it doesn't, obviously it means allowing. So I don't know how far it goes. I haven't read. They asked for comment from Sarah Hanna and Hinchy, and they did not give comment. So I don't know, going to their, maybe Steve knows or maybe Mike knows. Steve's really got his hand up. So you know about that?
I couldn't do the yellow hand, but
your yellow hand's up too, believe it or not.
Oh, okay.
I didn't mean to step in front of you, Mike, but Steve
but you did.
This is a very big issue, and I think honestly, if the truth were understood about the safety of these things, they would be acceptable, because we need so many of them that if half the communities can fight them off, we're not going to get what we need. So I'm actually I forget the bill. But
they're listed in that. The bill numbers are listed there.
I'll send that around to everybody. I think I sent something to a couple of people about bills to oppose and bills to support, because I know it sounds frightening to people, but we may have to do it this way.
Well, no.
Okay, Mike, I'm sorry.
Well, I saw it, and I, in fact, did contact, put an email out to I think Stephen and Skip and maybe Carol, that I was concerned about the public response, in that it is taking away home rule and bringing it up to the state. And that's an issue we have to think about. It is limited to those facilities above 25 megawatts, I believe. So it wouldn't be for the small residential ones, but it certainly would be for the ones that we're considering. So it's something to really look at and evaluate. I know Stephen kind of looked at it, and then I think his response was that we should support it, the particular resolution. I'm not so sure yet.
I think it's not like germane to whether BESS are safe or not. You know, it's they all of a sudden home rule is gone and they get to say, which is going to inflame people who are already even if you aren't, you know, it kind of gets me mad, and I'm for them. So.
Yeah.
Bill?
Yeah. If you, since I was doing a search on who is opposing BESS, all the opposition to BESS, you'll get a long list of actions from local communities. All the environmental organizations support BESS, but the opposition is always, aside from the fossil fuel industry, is these groups like we're being confronted with here in town. And that's the problem of it. And that's what's providing fueling, taking home rule away from it, from us in this, is like, we need these, as Stephen said, sort of it may have been the Freeman article, a really coherent argument for why it's not such a bad deal to have it permitted at the state level, came from none other than Quigley.
Yes.
Supervisor of the town of Ulster. Hated to be on his side on that, but
Elizabeth?
Well, vis-a-vis BESS, I could see the argument for, or rather to say it another way, that against permitting the home rule issue is important. But I just happen to be a member of Indivisible, as I'm sure a number of us are, and they stress the importance of going to Albany on the 25th. So because Hochul is against giving more money for the CPLC, you know, the climate law, and there's a number of issues that she is not very good about environmentally. So even though I don't relish going to Albany, I'm not a marching person much anymore. I think it is important that those of us who are not busy otherwise, to go to Albany on the 25th.
Good.
What time is the protest?
I think it's
We'll
10
find out. I
o'clock.
think it probably maybe 11 to 2 or something like that. I'm not sure. It would conflict with your meeting, though.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what I was checking.
I'll find out.
Thank you.
Okay, so maybe those who want to go can get a hold of Steve or
Are you going
Elizabeth.
to do that for a while?
So any more comment on it? I guess we should go ahead and, you know, it seems to me, although Stephen thinks the positive things are the things to emphasize, that it seems like the fear factor for the safety is the thing that's most on people's minds who are opposed to it. So I would think we would want to address that, you know.
Yep.
At least as soon as. And I don't know if a paper that we put forward would be a combination of those two, you know, statements. In other words, need for and reason not to be afraid of this technology.
Well, Jeff Seidman always talks about the safety sandwich between economics, safety, and economics. So maybe in this case, we need an open-faced sandwich with just 2 layers. Economics and say, but I know safety is what's driving most people. They just don't understand
Right.
why it's so
Right.
important.
And
Or
it's
they
simple.
don't like why it's important. There are a lot of people who don't want the don't want solar and wind.
Right.
Not necessarily the folks at Socrates here, our neighbors, but there is the entire United States government doesn't want solar and wind.
All the reason for going for it. No.
Okay, any other comments on there? So, this is also, the best issue is, entwined in the planning board and the EMC. So ask Carol to go next and see if she has anything to add through the planning board, what's happening there.
Yeah.
And if there's anything with EMC, which is a little bit farther away from it, but maybe related.
Pretty much it's in information. We are in a best information gathering mode at the planning board level. There's not much to present about that. I'm surprised that we haven't done much around Winston Farm either. Nothing's going on there from a planning board perspective. I'm sure plenty's going on behind the scenes, but I don't know about it. And the other, we had 4 different things we were done in an hour this past one time. So the solar, what's neat about this particular installation for BESS, from my perspective, is that it's close to the substation and it's close to the new solar field, if we approve it, of a 5 megawatt solar field. And it seems like a perfect mix. And so it would be interesting to find out more about it in terms of what the issues might be around the things that I'm not aware of in terms of how it's being engineered or that sort of stuff.
Well, I can say one thing is the storage, the 100 megawatt storage thing has nothing to do with the solar array.
Correct. Correct.
So that's one
No,
thing.
but they are both feeding the substation.
At a different level.
Correct.
At a different level.
Correct.
Kevin
But
is
it is interconnected in some way because okay, I'm not using the right words for you, Skip, but they are, in that solar does feed the grid. And when there's an excess of electricity, it feeds the BESS. So when there's a need for more, then BESS will feed back into the grid. They are interconnected in some interesting way in my mind. They're not dependent on each other.
You just have to make that separation. It's like, community solar and CCA. You got to make this distinction between the two. They're both solar things, but they are not supplying you the same way.
No, I'm not saying that they are.
Okay. Kevin's got his hand up.
Oh, again, just an identification. If Liz JR could just put their name in the chat or let us know who they are.
Can we find out who?
I think it's Elizabeth Reese. Is that true, Elizabeth? Okay.
Did either Claudia or Elizabeth identify themselves? Okay.
Claudia put in the chat that they're a Saugerties resident. That's all I know.
Okay. All right. Okay, so EMC.
Let's see if I can pull that up. We're having a meeting on March 25th. Seems to be
What happened at the?
I guess I can't go to Albany.
You've got it.
I just realized.
So what happened at the last meeting? That was what we.
Yeah, no, the last meeting was basically about BESS, and Town of Hurley is struggling with their 250 megawatt. Ours is 100. It's a very much larger, complex system, and they're not happy with having it be so close to the residential areas. So there are other areas that could be considered, but that was one of the main things that came up during that meeting. We talked about, I think we talked about most of these things.
Okay.
Yeah, we already talked about these things at our meeting. So the meeting that's coming up is pretty much, they're going to talk about seeker. So we'll find out more about what that is
In
about.
relation to Bess or just in general?
I think in general, I'm not exactly sure. It wasn't clear to me when I read through the informational stuff that was sent to me ahead of time. But
There's also Andy Bickerling.
Bicking.
Bicking, yeah, he is the head of the environmental department,
Yes.
and he was interested in talking to communities or
Yeah.
communities were talking
So,
to him.
like I was trying, it's the same thing as the the Hudson Valley Regional Council, provided a contract. They have a contract with HVRC to do this.
Who has a contract? The
Department
county?
of Environment has a contract with the HVRC to reach out to us to help us with a variety of informational resources.
Oh, yes.
And that's why this came up through, I think through you, right? And Stephanie.
Well, he had offered, so I wondered, where it would be appropriate maybe to have him come speak,
Right.
and what people thought and what subjects would we,
Right. So that would be interesting. I don't know if he may be interested. He may be able to do that. He's it's a pretty busy department.
Okay. All right. Okay. Okay. So do we got anything from the town liaison?
We've discussed most of it. Just on a personal level, I'm still looking at short-term rental. I've got access to the county data and the town data, and I've got a volunteer who's helping me apply, hang on, artificial intelligence to the analysis of the data just to speed it all up. The library board is having a library appreciation day on April 17th, I think. Looks to be going to have a presentation on the history of the Socrates Library. And that would be a really informative thing to attend. Good for the library. And I think you're right. We haven't heard anything about it in Winston Farm. We're kind of expecting something pretty soon, but it's just kind of on the rumor level. So we'll see.
Okay. So there was at the town board meeting last night, Citizens Review of Socrates gave a presentation about open space. It was excellent.
Yes.
And I sent that around to everybody. We should look at it. I think that we should simply note to the town board that we endorse what was said there, because it's very close to what we said, only they go into more detail. So it would be really great if you read it. Actually, there is now a video available of it also. And to those who would like it, I would send it around, on your request.
Thank you.
Paul Rubin, by the way, gave us a copy of his paper. That was the basis for his remarks about water.
Right.
And I'm still poring over it to try to understand it.
Okay, tree ordinance.
Oh, yes.
So there's been some upgrades in
Scott is
that.
up.
And Nicole, would you like to take over now and speak?
Does Steve want to say something first?
Steve
has his hand up. I did. Okay, Steve.
You're muted, Stephen.
Muted, Stephen.
One objection I had to that excellent presentation. On the last page, it says the town board should not grant a PDF
Right.
At this time. I think that's taking things a little further than we would take them.
Okay.
I think our idea would be that
Noted.
that it would have to be better understood and better developed before it's granted, but not that there should be an absolute turn down.
Yeah.
I thought it said at
Yes.
that time.
I have the same opinion. If we want to support it, what we're supporting is the saving of the forested areas.
So
That's
500
where-
acres.
That's what we put out already.
Yes.
The conclusions to not grant or stop the process is not, we should not sign on to that.
Okay.
So if we want to just indicate that in terms of forested areas, we are in agreement, I'm okay with it. Otherwise, I'm not.
Okay. Okay. Great. Any other comments there? Okay, tree ordinance. Nicole, you're on.
Hi, everyone. I would just like to hear any further. I mean, I got all of your comments and responded to them as much as, well, I did talked it over with the tree committee as much as we felt comfortable right now. But I'm all so I mean, I feel like the two main issues that people brought up with the ordinance is this having individual trees protected, or having to apply for a permit for individual trees or an application for any tree. And we got rid of the application for any tree because I feel like that's just too hard of a battle, and it's not really, I don't know. I deleted that one. And then the 12 inches diameter tree protection, we changed to 18 inches diameter breast height, and that was originally what we had, and I think we had changed it to 12. And actually, I talked to Vern Rist about it today, and he's like, "Yeah, 18." He's like, he agreed that was a good number, so, and that's very big trees. 18 inches diameter is basically diameter of breast height means it's like times 3, 18 times 3, which is 54 inches circumference around. So that's 54 inches around the tree. It's like a very, very, the biggest of the big, the biggest trees that I mean, some are even bigger than that, but so it would definitely, most of the trees that people are cutting would be smaller, but there would be some that would need the permit. Those trees are providing an immense amount of shade and carbon sequestration, and preserving the beauty of our beautiful town. Did you want to say something, Leslie?
Yeah, I did a super quick look at have these ordinances stood up to court challenges, and those that are based in aesthetics typically have not. Those that are based in ecosystem services, such as carbon sequestration, shading, erosion control, habitat, those sort of things have withstood the test, typically in court. And the municipalities do have authorization to have these kind of laws. And I can't right now cite which law it is, but it's a New York State law that authorizes municipalities to pass their own laws. And so that is in legislation. Nicole, do you want to address the acreage of forested? We did address forested area, right, and the acreage.
And so, people thought a quarter acre. Several people mentioned that some suggested 5 acres, some suggested 2 or 3 acre protection, but some people were concerned a quarter acre was too small an area for the need to ask for a permit to cut. I don't know if you know my property's an acre, so I have a sense of how big a quarter acre is. And a quarter acre of woods is still a significant amount of woods to be clear cutting. And basically if you wanted to cut more than a quarter of acre clearing, completely clearing, or cutting trees over 18 inches underneath a quarter acre. then you'd have to get a permit. It's going to be, that would rule out most property owners are going to be not cutting a quarter acre of their trees. It's going to be the very large properties. Yes.
Mary?
Yeah,
Mary?
just on the 18 inches, Nicole.
Okay.
But it would say, but the provision would be if it was a heritage or if it was a specimen tree, then it would, something in my screen here. I'm sorry, what's going on here? No. Can I just close it off? Okay, I'll ignore it. If it was a specimen tree or a heritage tree, then it would. Okay, if it's 12 inches or 16 inches, it's below 18 inches, but it's 16 inches and it's a heritage tree, then you need a permit.
That's the question, right?
Yeah. What's going on with my screen? What's this? Oh, okay. All right, I got it. Okay, I got it. Nicole is muted.
Nicole, you're muted.
Oh, sorry. Hi. Yeah. I mean, there might be some, well, we have to determine which trees are heritage trees, and that's something to work on. But yeah, and so if there's a heritage tree that's 16 inches below 18 inches, it still will be protected. And if it's considered a heritage tree, and if we can prove that.
Right. Okay, I just wanted to get that clarified. And getting back to, Leslie's point with respect to what's legal or not legal, I think, well, I know that this draft, when it goes to the town board, would obviously go before the town attorney before anything is approved. So I don't think we really have to worry too much about the legal part of it. I think let's wait and see when it gets to the hands of the town attorney, what the town attorney would advise the town as to this, this is illegal, you can't do it, or what, make that recommendation. So I would hope that we don't have to get into the legal part of it.
Yep, do you have something?
Yeah, I have. Yeah, when I brought up the legal thing, was just asking around. What the village had said is they ran into some problems, even though it was legal for them to have an ordinance and stuff. They ran into people making suit against them for, not letting them cut or wanting them to cut or all that. It was just a thing that had come up for them, which I just wanted to mention. It wasn't mentioned there. I didn't think that this was legal or not legal, but whatever things are in the law, if they create a situation where somebody might want to sue the town for some reason, that was the only consideration. And again, I think the town attorney could address that by looking it over. It's just that that was feedback I got just in throwing the question out and asking, how did this go for you? And that's what came back.
Did any court cases go against the village?
They didn't take it to court because once they were challenged that way, they just let the people do what they wanted to do.
Of course.
So, I mean, I'm not making judgment. I'm just saying, the village doesn't seem to, the same thing happened with that beautiful silver maple at the corner of Ulster Avenue in front of the Lamb Center that went down. I asked him specifically about that because I was walking by it and talking to Virginia Lupino as we were talking about this law and looking at this giant stump. And she said, what had happened there is the state said, we want to take this down. And for a couple of years, they tried to trim it and everything. And the state finally said to the village, okay, we won't take it down, but you're financially responsible for if a limb comes down and hurts somebody or punches a car or something like that. And the village said, okay, well, you better take it down. So it was a matter of liability, being threatened with liability. Mm-hmm. And they backed down in face of that. So that's what I know about that.
And, don't get me started on that tree because
Well, I know. I'm just, I'm
Vern assessed
reacting.
it,
My
and it was fine. And he said, "Oh yeah, you could just prune this, this, and this. It's safe." But anyway, it's done. The tree's
But,
gone.
I think it bears remembering that our work team was tasked with coming up with this. And so it's, a little odd to come up with this, work on it for a few years, bring it forward, and then have the questions of, hey, maybe this won't even stand up to law. So, I feel like we did the tasks and and we did the deliverable that we were asked to do like 3 years ago. So, I think we have to let it play out as it will.
Right. I wasn't saying that it wouldn't stand up to law. I'm just saying that it might incur legal, where would it incur legal challenges in individual cases? That's all.
Which we probably thought about 3 years ago when we
Okay,
were
okay, then that's
charged with
fine.
doing this.
I'm just asking the question. This is the first time we've been presented with this. I didn't know at all. I didn't know that you had gone through that because it hadn't been presented to us before this. So in answer to that, you said, "Oh yeah, we considered that." And I said, "Okay, great, you considered that." So that's fine. That's the answer to that. What I'm really, really confused about is this quarter acre thing. Does that mean a person who owns a parcel of land that is a quarter acre or smaller? Or does that mean a quarter acre patch on a piece of land? I'm confused about that.
Did you read the current iteration? We defined forested area because it said forested area was defined, but it was not used in the body of the proposed ordinance. It now says if you're cutting a quarter acre of forested area, cutting that quarter acre, not a quarter acre parcel, cutting a quarter acre.
If you're cutting clear cut.
If you own a quarter acre parcel, it's all wooded and you're cutting the whole damn thing down, yeah, you need a permit.
So, but if you own a larger piece, and it still applies to you if you're clearing more than a quarter acre.
Yes. Quarter acre or more. Is it more than or a quarter acre or more? I don't know, whichever it is, but that's right.
Anyway,
more than a quarter acre.
More than, okay.
It's maybe I'm not that smart, but it was hard for me to get my head around what you meant by that. Because it was.
Is it still unclear? I thought Nicole did
I'll read it again with that in
of...
mind. I guess I just had it in mind that you only were considering total parcels that were more than a quarter acre, not that you were, okay.
And right. This, there is discussion among people here that, we could put it up to 1 acre or 2 acres or 5 acres or 10 acres. And I mean, people have suggested those things. I mean, to me, a quarter acre is a lot if we have, but it's all your perspective. Some people that's big, some people that's small. It's kind of your perspective in terms of like how many trees are on a quarter acre wooded area. It's a lot. But at the same time, some people
again, it wasn't clear what that quarter acre referred to. Not that I considered it a lot or a little. I just wasn't clear on whether it was
we hear you.
The whole parcel, or an area on any parcel that was that was less than a quarter acre.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, if you have 50 acres and you're going to cut an eighth of an acre, you don't need a permit. But if you're going
but if you cut more than
a quarter acre, you're going to need a permit.
Okay, that was I understand it. And I didn't understand it before. Okay. So, Mary O'Donnell.
Yeah, I wanted to discuss section C, which talks about tree size and area size. And it says, provided no tree has been cut, destroyed, etc., in a contiguous area in the last 5 years by the owner or prior owner, a property owner or corporate entity seeking to remove, destroy a tree in a tree less than 18 inches in diameter, and in a quarter acre or less does not need a permit.
Doesn't make any sense.
The exemption?
So that means that if you're cutting a tree that is less than 18 inches in diameter in a quarter acre or less, does not require a permit.
A permit.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, to me, it makes sense. But if we could rewrite it, we got it from another town who has a tree policy, and those were the words.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I mean, I understand it, but if it's not clear, we could rewrite it. It's basically, people are going to be like, well, can I cut my tree outside? And then that's the exact, yes, you can. If it's less than a quarter acre of trees that you're cutting, and they're less than 18 inches in diameter.
I guess that's why I was confused too, because it sounded like you were talking about one tree you're allowed to cut. And of course, any one tree exists in less than a quarter acre. But if what you meant is cutting all the trees within a quarter acre, that's the difference. And that, to me, that wasn't clear, that that quarter acre consisted of a whole bunch of trees and you wanted to cut them all down.
Yeah, but we're also talking about the 18-inch trees, which are single trees. It's not a quarter acre of 18-inch trees. It's like, oh, and if there's an 18-inch one,
you see where it might be
how many acres.
Do you see where it might be confusing to us? I mean, I think
I do, and if somebody wants to send me an edit of that, that'd be great. How to edit it in a way
Mary O'Donnell, are you still?
Yeah, I'm still on. Okay, so can we say that property owner, okay, you can cut, destroy, etc., a tree less than 18 inches in diameter? Can we say that?
Yes.
Okay, so less than 18 inches in diameter. And that means that if I have 5 acres and I want to cut, or let's even take Skip, he's got 1.5 acres and he wants to cut his little 4-inch trees. He does not need a permit, even though it's over a quarter of an acre.
He does not need a permit.
He does not need a permit.
And do I have to make an application?
Oh, no. If it's a over 1 acre of those little trees he was talking about, then he needs a permit. But if it's under 1 acre, he doesn't.
But that's really the heart of what I'm dealing with. That's really at the heart of what I'm dealing with. So now Skip's got his 1.5 acres. He's got these, one year he's got these 4 little trees that he wants to take down. He goes to town hall. He gets a permit. He pays a fee. If you get a permit, you pay a fee.
No, application comes first, right?
Pardon?
No, there's no application. We deleted that.
Hold on.
You did.
Hold on. Let's put the application aside.
Okay,
just for this minute. I'm trying to, I just want to do the point on the size of the tree and what the permitting. So anybody over a quarter of an acre and they want to take down these little bitty trees, they got to go to town hall, they got to get a permit, and then they got to pay a fee. And okay, I think 2 points. I think the 2 points here are, number one, we're trying to address the cutting down, mass cutting down of trees, clear cutting down of trees. That's really what we're at. And the second thing we're at here is we want to make this fair to the homeowners, acceptable to the homeowners, acceptable to the town board. We want to come up with something that's reasonable and acceptable, but that protects clear cutting of trees, protects trees that are, smaller than the 18 inches. So larger, sorry, right, larger. Okay, right. Okay. So do you get my point that maybe we should be saying that you need a permit if you're cutting down a tree that's 18 inches or larger. And if you're cutting down a tree that's less than that, unless it's a specimen or a heritage, you don't need a permit. Then we get to the application point. But are you on board with what I'm saying? Do you get what I'm getting at?
Well, I think you're explaining it the way it is, Mary. That's the way it is. I'm not sure what you're trying to say. I think that Skip is saying it's not clear, or some people think it's not clear in that exemption part, and we can just reword it to make it simpler. Because it's just complicated the way
Nicole,
it's
when I asked the question, you said to me, yeah, if I've got more than an acre and I want to cut down my little bitty tree, I got to go to town hall and I got to get a permit. And I got
No, I did not say that.
Yes, yeah, yeah.
Okay, well then we had a miscommunication. I didn't think I said that. If I want to cut down 4 trees in whatever size of acres, and as long as they're under 18 inches, you don't need a permit. It's only if you clear cutting over an acre of trees that you would need a permit. And he's,
Yeah.
I think the problem here is we're talking about, when you talk about a quarter acre, I think Nicole's talking about a quarter acre of trees.
Yes.
And when I thought about it, I think I'm only cutting down 1 or 2 trees. So obviously I'm not cutting down a quarter acre of trees.
You're not cutting down.
Right. So I didn't understand that distinction. I thought you meant any number of trees within a quarter acre rather than one tree within. Do you see I think that's the confusion that we're having in wording.
Right.
Yeah, that is definitely the confusion because because as I said, it read to be in a sense that if you had over an acre and you wanted to cut down a small tree, you still needed a permit. So that needs rewording. That really needs clarification.
Okay, well, we'll revise that. Does anybody else have any other comments?
Yes, I have my hand up.
Linda?
Yeah, I have my hand up. Yeah, regarding that same section that Mary was referencing, under C exemptions, I read it and I was confused too because it says, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Do not remove, cut, destroy a tree that is less than 18 inches. Up to now, you've been talking about trees that are larger than, and I think this is the only place where less than is referenced, and it is confusing, so.
Yeah, it's just the exemptions. I think it's just kind of like stating the opposite. And earlier, it states that you can't cut over 8 trees over 18 inches without a permit, and over a quarter acre. I'm finished. Can I finish? And this is an exemption. Basically, it's just saying if your tree is under 18 inches, you're exempt. You don't have to.
But it says on a quarter acre. So if you're over a quarter acre,
well, then we're going to revise that.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah, I understand it's confusing.
That is confusing. Yep.
Okay. I also, this is just a minor point. We call it a local law, but I agree with Leslie when she said to reference it as an ordinance as opposed to a local law. The reason we got to local law is because we were talking about originally a tree preservation policy, and then the group decided that it needed teeth, so that it should be like a local law or an ordinance, and therefore it would have penalties, whereas policy might not have penalties and might not be as strong. So I would agree that the title should be changed from local law to ordinance.
Okay.
Just sounds less threatening too.
Yeah.
I mean, if we're trying to get this passed,
Yeah.
If it's the same thing and it's called an ordinance, it sounds different. It sounds less onerous.
Okay.
And the other point that I think to be considered is in the opening of the now ordinance, the town board sets forth the reasons for the ordinance, and I think it would be helpful in that second paragraph up there to get in the words clear cutting, so that I know it says the indiscriminate. I don't have the wording in front of me, but it says the indiscriminate cutting of trees. But I think just putting the words clear cutting of trees would really identify what we're really after, and that we're and that the town would be trying to prevent the clear cutting of trees. So I think that wording up there in the beginning, the second paragraph in the beginning of the document would be helpful.
Mhm.
Good idea.
Well, we could use both. I mean, there's two different things there. You know,
Okay, let me go back and get the wording.
We can just add clear cutting in.
yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
That's fine.
Okay, the town of Saugerties further finds the excessive and indiscriminate cutting of trees. I mean, it says that the excessive and indiscriminate cutting of trees, but I think for impact, just to use the terminology clear cutting of trees, because that's what we're really going after. And I think the public would be supportive. I think
Yeah.
the public does not want, clear cutting of trees. So that's just my other suggestion.
Elizabeth?
Yes. Well, I tend to agree with Mary on that point. I mean, my feeling in the last 3 years when we've been discussing this was that the overall intent of the ordinance would be to protect against clear cutting of large properties that might be under threat of development. But I also, thanks to Skip's recent comments, see that it's very important to clarify what is allowable and what's permitted and what's exempt on small properties. So I think there could be a kind of tension between these two issues, but we have to deal with both of them.
Yeah.
And just again on the wording part of it, I think at the beginning when we talk about the procedures, and that just make it clear right there that this ordinance pertains to the cutting, destroying, etc., of trees 18 inches in diameter or larger, and then go on to say trees less than 18 inches in diameter. This ordinance does not pertain to the cutting blah, 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 of trees less than, so that people would read this, they see right up front, hey, I'm okay with this, I'm okay, 18 inches diameter, yeah, let's get a permit for that. And then they say, oh, so my smaller trees, I don't have to worry about it, I don't need a permit, and I don't have to pay a fee to take them down. So I think that putting that up there up front is helpful too, so people can understand what exactly is what exactly is going to be the requirements.
I
And
think
then
that's wise. Yeah.
Yeah.
then to the application issue, that we have to decide too. So that, and this is the question for discussion. If I am cutting my little bitty trees, do I need to make an application?
I deleted that part, Mary.
Yeah, I know you. No, I know you did. I know you did.
Yeah.
But
So-
should there be maybe a modified application so that if I'm going to cut these trees, I don't even know if to call it an application, just a statement saying that you're cutting the trees, they're less than, say, 18 inches in diameter, no tree, no heritage tree or specimen tree or a tree 18 inches in diameter over shall be cut. So that, and the reason I'm raising this point is this, so that if the owner or who is cutting down the trees makes a statement that it's only less than 18 inches in diameter, no tree over that, and no specimen and no heritage tree will be cut down. If we get that in writing from the applicant, then when it comes to enforcing the penalties, we have something on which to stand, that person has made a statement or that applicant has made a statement, and then, hey, they cut down a heritage tree. They cut down a tree more than 18 inches. You've got something to stand on. So whether it's an application or whether it's a statement, I'm throwing this out for discussion as to maybe, I'm throwing this out for discussion to see what everybody thinks about how to proceed with that.
Well, now I remember why we put that application in. And before, it just sounds so onerous to like, I'm just gonna cut one little tree in my front yard, go get an application. And I think that there's gonna be a lot of resistance from the community that they have to go apply. But you have a point. I mean, do you anybody else here is this law going to be enforceable if nobody's doing application? I mean, if people are just cutting, how is it gonna, the only way that it can be enforced is if somebody sees them cutting the tree and takes a picture, right?
Yeah,
Like the
but getting
neighbor
back to
or
the,
like somebody driving by or whatever.
no, getting back to the application point, I really agree with you, Nicole, on that. Filling out that application, it's a big deal the way it's written right now. But it could it not be framed so that it's less onerous? And as I said, just a statement so that we have something to back up. And if we're relying on somebody to tattletale on their neighbor, I mean, that's a whole other issue.
I
And
don't
again-
know. Anybody else?
And it's only for trees that are larger than 18 inches, right?
No.
That,
Oh,
yeah,
wait,
you have to certify,
sorry.
you have to certify that the trees are less than the 18 inches, that they're not a heritage tree or specimen tree, and no tree 18 inches or larger is being cut.
So this is a statement. You don't have
Yeah.
to actually make an application. You're just filing a statement.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, filing
An
a statement.
application, certainly.
Okay. How about you, Carol? What do you think?
Yeah, well, I was just thinking that if it's online, it's not onerous. If you can apply, say, no, I'm going to cut that tree down tomorrow. I'm just going to put it online, and that way it's there.
I'm sorry, I
And
didn't
what if you
understand.
don't?
I'm sorry, Carol, I missed your point.
Yeah, that if it's online, if you're filling out the application online, you don't have to go down to the town hall. It should be a pretty simple matter of just saying to yourself, okay, I'm supposed to fill out an application. I don't know if you have to get approval for it. Is that what you're suggesting? But what it sounded like you were stating is that if you have an application in, this way the town knows. If somebody drives by and says, oh my God, look at that stump that's left, then there's something different than what you're stating that you were cutting down, and it has a little bit of teeth in it.
Yeah, well, the application is definitely for the 18 inches or over. I mean, that's definite, an application
Okay.
because that's for the permit. So that's that. So my suggestion was either like just a limited an abbreviated application, or a statement, as I also said, maybe a statement saying so that what was done, so that the person is, saying that this is what they did and then they didn't do it. So the town has something to
Okay.
back on in terms of penalties.
So what does everybody else think about this? Because we've had this conversation before, and we are the tree committee talking right now. Bill?
Yes, I'm with you. I have a couple of questions, if I may. One is enforcement. Your standard for a tree being allowed to cut down is diameter at breast height. If you drive by and you see a stump that's level with the ground, that's 2 feet wide,
Done
what
deal.
was the diameter of that tree
At breast height.
Oh, that's clever.
Yeah.
Wait,
I don't know how the other question I have is just the definition of acres of trees. I know you say a wooded area is an area that's 10%, I think. Is 10% shaded or something?
Canopy.
A canopy. Is that a contiguous? I don't know. If I've got 18 acres of land and it's just sparsely populated by trees and I want to cut them all down, have I cleared 18 acres?
Yes,
I
would say yes.
And even if it's just 4 or 5 trees, I don't know. It's not clear to me. Unless you're going to address density somehow, tree density. Maybe I'm wrong.
Well, think about that and come up with an idea of what we should say. Bill, because I mean, I think you have a point of like, well, it is if they are clearing 18 acres of trees. It's not forested though. And I wish Leslie was here for this conversation.
Yeah.
Because we said forested acres.
Yeah, which is 10%.
Sorry, you cut
10%.
out.
Oops. I know.
Yeah,
Which is 10% shaded area. Shaded area.
that's where it's defined in their ads. Yes.
Is it contiguous shaded area or just?
I don't know. We have to look back at the definition. I don't have it right this second. Do you want me to read it? Hold on.
Okay, I'm sorry, I'm having trouble with my connection.
It's okay. You're there still.
Okay,
So
real quick,
here it is. Deforested land is defined as land that is 1/4 of an acre or larger in size and has at least 10% tree cover, or formerly had such tree cover and is capable of growing those trees. That's a quote. That's a definition that we got from another tree policy. And I think the reason it said formerly had such tree cover.
Yeah, isn't any spot of land theoretically capable of growing 10% tree cover?
Yeah.
No.
I think so. Forested land is including the example that you said in this definition.
Okay, so you just add up all the shaded area, and if it's less than 10%, it's not forested.
I wish Leslie was here because that's her thing.
Okay, just
But I can ask
take
her.
the question back.
I'll
and
ask her and
discuss
I'll
it
try to
again.
get back to you. Okay. Anything else? Any other? So the people that were wanting 2 acres or 5 acres protected.
I can speak to that. My understanding was that 1/4 acre meant the total parcel. So I was misunderstanding what you meant.
Mhm.
So I was saying 1 to 5 acres of total parcel, not of total tree cutting. I was
Okay.
misunderstanding what you meant by the 1/4.
Right.
I was understanding your total parcel was 1/4 acre, which is a very small amount of the possibilities. You really got to have a bigger area to have a lot of trees. So it was my misunderstanding of that term 1/4 acre that led me to say something bigger.
Okay.
So that's, if you can, that can be rewritten and that can be cleared up. That's okay. That clears that up. Just a misunderstanding in the terminology, because even after I talked to Mary about it, I still had that in my head that this meant your whole parcel was only 1/4 acre, and anything bigger than that, you had to get a permit, no matter what. You see what I'm saying? But you're saying, but now I understand what you mean by 1/4 acre of forested trees now. So that makes, it makes it more sense because it doesn't matter. It doesn't stop you, from cutting something that's, that is 1/4 acre without a permit. So,
okay.
So that is why it was a misunderstanding in that 1/4 acre, what that meant by 1/4 acre. What it referred to.
Any other concerns or questions?
Okay.
I mean, we'll revise it again, I guess, with these to try to address these things brought up. If anybody has anything else, send an email. And I mean, I really, if the CAC can't support this, then I don't want to bring it. I mean, I feel like the CAC has to support it if we're going to bring it to the town. And, so if there's any things that people are having issues with, bring them up so we can all say that we support it.
Right.
I
I really feel strongly that what we have to do is, after you've got this rewrite, is informally give it to Leanne and or Bill to look at and say, okay, this might swing by the town and this might swing by the lawyer. And then if they have any modifications, because we just don't want to throw up, all of us would love this. Yeah, let's do this, you know, blah, blah, blah. But if it's not going to pass muster, and if there's small things or even medium things that we can do to make it pass muster, you know, then get behind it. I think that's a good strategy to get that, you know, because we're, you know, all tree huggers. So, you know, to make it more likely that it's going to be passable to have an informal look at it, I think would be what I would suggest.
Right.
Okay.
Does anybody else have feelings on that?
Yeah.
Elizabeth?
Well,
Nobody has any feelings on that?
yes.
Elizabeth?
Yes, well, I agree. I think what Skip says makes a lot of sense. If we reword this according to the suggestions that have been made this evening, pass it around among ourselves, and then send it to Leanne. And Mike Ivino is a tree. He has a tree business, doesn't he?
Mhm.
Yeah,
But see if what their sense is. Is John Greco still the town attorney?
yes.
I mean, I think if we get too hung up on perhaps not send it to John Greco, but Leanne and Mike Avino would be helpful to get their advice.
One more
But
question.
I think,
Well,
you know,
isn't that when we take it to the board, won't we be getting Mike and Tina?
My suggestion is that we get unofficial feedback on this first. And then if we want to make modifications to it before we make the formal presentation to them all, because there might be things that we're not seeing or things we could put in a different way before we make the official presentation that might make it more, you know, likely to be accepted. That's what I'm saying. Now, if people don't feel that way, okay. I'm being super cautious, and I'm thinking that having a perspective outside of our own, maybe to guide what we do, might make it, you know, more likely to pass muster. That's what I'm saying. If that's
Okay.
not other people's, you know, that's just a view of how I would approach it. I'm suggesting that if others on the committee don't feel that way and we can just make our own changes and put it in formally, then I'll go with that. But I'm erring to the side of caution and to the side of another perspective.
Okay, well, I mean, we don't have to make this decision right this second, and we can, I'll do the revisions and then I'll send them out to this whole group, and whether we bring it to the next meeting or not, we could respond on an email saying yay or nay, and then
I mean,
if we need to
maybe
bring
we
it
can
to the
get
next
Bill's
meeting, we will,
reaction
but
right now.
otherwise we could just maybe at that point people can say, yeah, why don't we run it by Leanne
Okay.
and see if they're interested.
Okay.
I mean, see if they have comments.
and I think we should.
Bill, what do you think
earlier.
about that?
I think it's going to be a hard sell to the building department.
Well,
That they when it comes to enforcement, that they now have to enforce violations about tree cutting. But that's, you know, and I'm just telling you, I'm up against it with short-term rentals with those guys because they can't handle. If I cut out again?
No.
Okay, I'm sorry. It locks up sometimes. You know, they don't have the personnel to enforce the short-term rental regulations. So that's just one hurdle that comes to mind right away.
Okay.
And I think we toyed with the idea of the tree commission helping out with some of that, but maybe, you know, that's something that could be edited or just something that could be
yeah, maybe advising them.
Yeah.
Okay. I have just one thing to wrap up. when I made the suggestion about the applicant who is going to cut down the smaller trees and not the larger trees, is that something that we think should be revised in terms of a statement saying, attesting to the fact that no trees less than the 18 inches, no trees larger than the 18 inches have been cut down? I didn't hear a consensus from everyone, but
Are you talking about the application for trees smaller than 18 inches?
smaller, yeah, smaller.
Yeah, well, why don't we have a vote? I mean, I don't know.
Well, before the group goes back to make revisions, we really should know what the CAC preference is. And if the CAC feels like, yes, this is an appropriate change to make, and if they don't, then why make the change? I think the CAC should
Can we just get an idea of what if you're in support of having a like very basic online, I don't know if it's an application or just a statement, a report. I'm cutting 3 trees today. Maybe you take a picture of them, send it in. That's it. That's what all you have to do. You don't have to like get a response. It's not like applying, get permission. It's just more like reporting when you're cutting trees, just so we can keep tabs in case, there's a violation.
And also so you can enforce a penalty if there is a large violation or a violation.
How many of you support that idea? I mean, it is going to be like asking every individual in Saugerties to report every time they cut any tree. How many of you are in support of it?
Now, does this apply to trees over 18 inches or all trees?
All trees. This is just to report tree cutting so that we can keep track of what's going on.
I think we're micromanaging here.
Wait. If you're cutting a tree larger than 18 inches, you make that application, you fill out that application that's there, 18 inches. If you're just cutting the smaller trees, that's what I'm saying.
Yes, that's what we're saying. The smaller trees is just a statement. You just send it in.
Right. It's no big deal, but we just got to.
It's just like a form you fill out and you push enter and it's sent.
Yeah, we just got to know that
just so people can keep track, so we can keep track of what's going on. Okay, so how many people are supportive of doing that? Can you raise your hand?
Can we frame it as a sentence? One that you make a statement that you are going to cut some trees on your property, that none of them is a heritage, none of them is a specimen, none of them is greater than 18 inches.
Yes.
And that is it. Mm-hmm. You don't have to wait for permission, no sign off. You make the statement. I would be in favor of that.
Yeah. Okay.
Me too.
Also, it sounds strange to say these days, but not everyone might have access to online, to know what to do online is my only.
That's true.
Well, there can be forms in the town offices if people want to get the sheets of paper or whatever to fill out. But I know that sounds like a hassle for people. I get that.
Yeah,
you'd have to say either in writing or online. Statement has to be filed.
Or they could call in and the town clerk could just fill out the form for them.
The hotline.
I think that might kill it. I don't know.
Yeah, I know. It's a tough one. So are you voting against it? Oh, okay. How many people are supportive of this idea? Raise your hand.
I am.
I think I am. I mean, I'm in the ideal world. I am. I don't know.
Right.
Ken is not. Ken is
1, 2, 3, 4.
No.
Okay. Who's opposed to it? Take your hand down, Carol.
Yeah.
How many people are opposed to it? 1, 2. And you're not voting, Bill?
I'm abstaining.
How about you, Mary?
I'm with Bill. I'm abstaining.
I just think we're going to have people who are going to say, I just want to cut down one little tree. Mm-hmm. Why do I have to go through this?
I know.
Not a big deal.
It really is an intrusion into doing simple things on your property. Mm-hmm. And I understand the point that we then have the
Mhm.
record, and if anybody turns them in, we know what they said they were going to do. But if the tree is already down, how do you prove it wasn't what they said it was?
I mean, with the
I just think
photo,
it's
And
gonna,
also, does everybody know what a heritage tree is? And if I'm going to say none of my trees are heritage trees, I
Right.
could be lying without knowing it.
Right, and that's where the penalties come in.
Yeah, well,
That's
that's
the
how the
hammer.
town makes its budget, I guess. Like putting a police car at the entrance to the town or the village. I just think it's going to anger people.
okay, but let's,
so you gotta vote against it. We gotta vote one way or another.
okay,
I'm
so
voting
these are the
against it.
people voting against it. So Ken voting against it and
I was just explaining why.
how about you,
I'm a
Kevin?
tree hugger, yes.
Linda,
I'm abstaining.
you're
I'm
abstaining.
You
not a
can't
member.
abstain. You're on a moving train.
I would
If
just
you're
say that,
against it, right?
people don't want to, be told what they can and can't do when it comes to little saplings and,
Yeah,
a barbecue and this and that.
I know.
And it's,
Well, that's why they don't need a permit. That's why they don't need a permit. They don't need a. Okay, let's get the vote
But-
done, everybody. I gotta go eat dinner. I haven't
I mean,
eaten.
I know.
We got another.
I am eating dinner.
So I guess that's how many people? I mean, Kevin, what are you saying? No?
I'm not voting. I'm
He's
not a
not on
member
the
of the
CAC.
committee.
Oh,
And Ken was of answer, but he's not voting.
I'm inclined against it.
Kathleen?
I'm not a member,
She's not a
so
member.
I'm not
Oh.
voting.
So what are we? 3 against 2?
I don't
Yeah.
know. People
So
aren't voting. That's, you gotta. Okay.
I can change my vote.
My vote is, I mean, our votes are, I mean, mine's kind of like wishy-washy because I do think
Yeah,
it's like,
I
oh,
get-
if you're
I
going to
get
cut
it.
a little sapling, why should you have to go report
Yeah,
that?
it's too
But I understand the bigger picture too. But I also think just I really want this to pass, and I feel like something like that's just gonna.
So I'll change my
Oh,
vote.
somebody can go through the list of members of the CAC and everybody can simply say yes or no. And then you can get an accurate count.
Right.
Well, you raise your hand. Are you against it? You vote now. What's going on?
Am I a member?
No.
I didn't think so. I'm just a
No, but
liaison.
you're-
Everybody that's opposed to this raised
What's
their
your
hand now.
opinion, Bill? What's your opinion?
I think it's too
David?
onerous.
Yes.
Okay, well, put your hand up.
No, he can't vote. He's
You
a
can vote,
member.
yes.
No, against it. What was the proposition against or for?
Against it.
Against it. How many people are against this? Raise either your hand or your,
We're talking about for every tree, right?
Yes,
yes.
just a little form.
Okay.
You're against it, Carol?
Now I am.
Oh, wow. 3,
And Ken's got his hand up.
4. Okay. Well, I think that y'all are against it. I mean, I think that's the majority.
Yeah. Yeah.
Resolved.
Well-
Good. At
Well,
least
no,
it's
it's 4 against 4, or it's 4 against, no, it's 4 against 3. Right. Look, can I just give one example? We built a shed. My husband, partner built a shed out there. We didn't get a permit. Somebody drove by and stopped, and it was the building department. Go figure. It's either somebody called, reported, I don't even know. And he's like, you're too close to the road. You're supposed to be 50 feet from the road.
Mm.
And we were like, oh, and we had just got started on it. So we moved it. And it was small enough that we didn't need to go to the building department to do it because it was like the smaller shed. And it was effective. I'm just saying this is an example of how
Good
the
point.
law was still effective, even though we didn't go and tell them we were doing it. It just, a neighbor saw it or somebody driving by. I mean, it's just going to have to be like that, right? Like,
Yep.
I mean, what happened across from the elementary school? Everybody, it was
Was
so
upset.
obvious.
Yeah.
You can't hide something like that.
Right. That was clear. That was clear cutting.
Right.
And Lanny isn't even here. Lanny Walters is.
He's been going in and out of the room.
Okay.
Okay,
So,
thank you.
okay,
Anything else?
thank you. All right, now, Mary Mac wanted to bring up a subject. Now we're really, really late here, so
We're late.
let's
very
try to
late.
be really concise. We're losing people here, so.
Thank you. And maybe I just will put a pin in a topic that you all could, I hope, have a more thorough discussion later on. There are about 62 homes surrounding the Saugerties landfill in Woodstock and in Saugerties, both in the Sawkill watershed as well as in the Plattekill watershed, who are impacted by the leachate from the landfill. I'm sure you all are aware of the fact, but it's been dragging on a bit too slowly, almost 6 years now. And different people there are quite a few people who are not happy with the mitigation that the state has offered them. So that's one topic. A member, Tracy Bouvet, who lives in the neighborhood, has been very active at sharing his PowerPoint. And I don't know if Bill had, whether or not the town board should receive that PowerPoint or the CAC. I understand from Skip that because the state is working on it, you didn't feel like the CAC needed to get involved. But I would say if there's 60 residents, intermunicipal, whose homes are being impacted by tainted water and the state is moving slowly, it maybe is worth at least finding out more and having communication with our state legislators. So the second part of this topic of PFAS and 1.4 dioxane in groundwater or in drinking water is there is a new program provided by New York State Department of Health being managed through local county departments of health. Last month or this month, Dutchess and Putnam County began the process. Next month, by the end of the month, Ulster will begin to manage this. It's a grant, a reimbursement grant that provides up to $10,000 for testing and mitigating private wells to see whether or not they're tainted. At the moment, the way the grant is written, if you've already been in communication with the state, you cannot use this grant. Ann Peters and I were discussing it, and it feels like the homeowners who are around the landfill should be able to have more freedom, more leeway in what kind of mitigation they want for their private wells. So hopefully none of the people on this call are impacted by it, but in the Woodstock Environmental Commission, one of the members of that board, who actually is the son of Willie Newman, and lives just yards away from the Sawkill, which is downstream just by a couple of 100 yards of a popular swimming hole. His wells and his neighbor's wells are tainted by PFAS, and it's been going on for the past 40 plus years, but no one knew about it until about 6 or 8 years ago. So again, I understand that the CAC is involved with issues that the municipal government has impact on, but I think that the CAC should at least be involved and be a source of information. Bill, I don't know if you want to add anything.
No, I think yes, I think it's a good point, and I'm supportive of it. These grants, by the way, the individual homeowners would apply for.
Correct. Right.
So
And I sent out information to several people on this call, so it's up to you if you want to post it. I can only push so far, and then I just have to back off. But it will be put on the town website.
And what is this that you're recommending? What action are you recommending?
I'm recommending an action that's in conversation with the CAC and the town board and the town supervisor and the superintendent of the landfill. And with our county legislators and our state legislators to push the state to move faster with the report that they've been working on for the landfill and what we should be doing. The town of Hurley, that report has been finished, and they have a whole process for pumping out contaminated leachate. And then there's a whole other series of problems that I won't go into now. The other is that this new New York State Department of Health grant for testing and mitigating private wells should be able to include homeowners who are in conversation with the state, but feel like they want more assistance with mitigating their private wells. Again, this is a 40-year-old contamination. People are being given bottled water, yet they're washing it's their whole entire home is impacted by this contamination. The liability is with the state, not with the town, but it does seem important for the town to play a proactive role in advocating for the citizens of Saugerties as well as our neighbors in Woodstock. I did not realize the extent. Artist Road is included, but now I found out that the Fontaine Kill and properties that are adjacent to the Xena cornfield, the first land saved by the Woodstock Land Conservancy, that is contaminated with PFAS. It's not a fun topic. It's everywhere. And even once we start pumping out this leachate, currently we're taking it to our Glasgow wastewater treatment plant and dumping it without any degree of serious filtration into the Hudson River, where people go swimming, where they go fishing, and it's also upstream of the Hudson 7. So I think that it's a topic that's complicated, that has a lot of science. Tracy Bouvet would like to speak to it. I think it's worth a separate workshop with the different people who could help look at it. Maybe it's an informational session for homeowners as well. Get the Department of Health involved. So thank you, Skip, for letting me squeeze this in at the last minute. Terry Williams is the person in charge, and I sent that information on to you, Skip. So
okay, I just pulled up an email that which I haven't read yet. What I'd like to know is, well, we've got a couple of questions, but basically, what action are you suggesting we take in relation to this? The thing I mentioned before is we wrote the town board saying that they should encourage the DEC to take faster action on rules to deal with that PFAS going to the water treatment plant. Their
Right.
response was, we are working with DEC. We don't want to we don't want to mess that. So we stop there. This
Right.
seems to be a bigger thing.
It's actually a more localized thing.
Right, but what are the specific actions you feel that we might be able to take to encourage, the actions on the wells?
So thank you. So first of all, yes, you've been very good at writing a letter to the state to move forward with the leachate loophole issue,
Right.
of which the town of Saugerties, unfortunately, is one of the most active participants in Ulster County. So that's one set that you've been working on. This is something new.
That's why I'm asking what the action would be in relation to this.
That's what I say. So what I'm talking about tonight is something new. So it's two parts. One is the study being done by New York State DEC out of Albany, studying our Superfund site, has been going on for 6 years. We're asking them to move forward. They keep putting off the date. So I don't know who the letter should be addressed to, find out who it is and send a letter with Fred, with the town board, with Michelle Hinchy, with Ann Peters, et cetera. So that's number 2. So 1, you've been working on the leachate loophole legislation. That's one thing. Number 2 would be moving forward on our local Saugerty Superfund site, the study, getting it done. Because as long as it's not finished, that leachate just keeps moving out. There's no pumping going on, there's no removing, so the problem continues. Number 3 is to ask New York State Department of Health, in collaboration again with our local politicians, our local legislators, to say that this new reimbursement grant for testing and mitigation should be able to include people who are already actively talking to the state because they are not satisfied with what they're being offered for mitigation. So 3 different things, 2 of which are Ulster based, and one is state, one is Ulster, and one is Saugerties.
All right, so speeding up the Superfund study.
Yes.
That's one of them, and then the grant being applicable to people who have already been involved in the study.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. Their
Yeah,
wells
talk
have been
about that.
tested. There are about 60 homes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I know one of these people, their home is being tested by DEC and it has 1,4-dioxane in it.
Right.
According to this grant, they don't qualify for the grant because they're
Correct.
already talking to DEC. They don't know if they have PFAS or not.
Right.
If they could participate and get the grant, they could have their water tested
Correct. So
and get $10,000 towards remediation.
correct. Now this grant is $1.5 million for 6 counties for 7 years, unless it's $1.5 million for each of the 6 counties. I'm not sure, but it just was announced a few weeks ago. The Terry Williams, the woman in charge, just received the flyer that I shared with you all 2 hours before I talked to her yesterday. So it's still new. It's still a work in progress. They're still working out the kinks. It's possible there's still time to get legislation. Skip, if it would help, maybe I can draft a letter with the help of other people so that this can move forward efficiently.
Yes. Do that.
Okay.
I'm familiar with it. That's why I'm asking what specific action needs to be taken. So if a letter in support of these people who are not eligible for the funding would help, that seems like something that we'd want to do, but let's.
And then the third thing would be, or the fourth thing would be to make sure that on the town's website, we do a good job of actively letting people know this grant will be available to them because the money won't last long. So we want to do outreach.
Okay, well, let's do that. Let's get the letter going because we don't know that they'll be available until we write the letter, until they're open for the grant. Is that correct?
No, it's
Anyway, the Woodstock Environmental Commission will put up the information today or tomorrow, and I would encourage the CAC and Saugerties to put up the information. And Bill, what were you going to say?
I was going to say there are people who are not communicating with DEC who just don't know about it.
Correct.
So that's the reason to do outreach.
Yeah. Okay. And unfortunately, so there are tests that people can get also that are $80. The price per test has gone from $800 to $80. I do have an email out to Riverkeeper Science Director whether or not she recommends this test. But again, I think it's a deeper dive is needed at the Saugerties level. There's a whole newsletter that goes on between the 60 homeowners. It's been going on for a couple of years. It's embarrassing that we've not done a good job of advocating for these neighborhoods that have been on bottled water since before COVID. So I'm encouraged that Fred is willing to now talk about it at a town board meeting. It's been hushed up, prior to this. It's now out in the public. And it was hushed up because it overlapped with Corralis's property. So now is a good time to advertise what's happening at a state and county and local level.
Okay, if you could send us sample letters or outreach materials, please do that, okay?
And I did send you outreach materials, but I'll do it again.
I've got something that was sent
yesterday in the afternoon. So
10
Steve,
a.m. to 10 a.m. today. I got one.
And I said some things yesterday too. Stephen, did you want to ask a quick
Who the
question?
letter should go to?
Well, I'm not sure. So let's work on that. Elizabeth, if you want to help me a little bit, that would be great. Or let me see what I can find and then I'll share it with you all.
Okay.
Sorry, I was muted, but I wanted to ask, to whom should the letters go? They're not going to the state, they're going to the town board,
No,
correct?
they would be going to the.
Why do we have standing?
I don't know.
We're a division of the town government. I don't think we have standing to write directly to the state.
That's a good point. So then it would be a letter. It's a good point. So it'd be a letter to the town board, the supervisor, and the superintendent of the landfill, as well as maybe to Jen Metzger. You're right. So that's.
Well, we can decide these details as we go forward. It's really late, and I think
we need that sample. We need that sample of letters.
So I did want to also add in.
Can we leave it at Mary's going to draft a letter and send it to Skip, and we can work out the details later because.
Exactly. So I just wanted to add.
I really do have to go.
Mary, I just wanted to let you all know that from April 18th to April 26th, there will be a second Socrates Earth Day Week event. And one of the things that I've been asked to do is to publicize all the wonderful work that the Climate Smart Communities Task Force has been doing over the past, since 2019, if not. Anyway, so Skip said that you all didn't have time to participate or publicize so that I could publicize for you. But that's happening, and thank you for all the work you all have done. And if in the near future we can do some workshops like you've done in the past to advertise new opportunities for energy and new opportunities for other programs, I think that the public is ready to do something at the local level since the federal level and the international level is so challenging.
Right.
Skip, I'd like to make a very quick announcement if I could.
Okay.
Okay. There is an opportunity for free technical assistance for municipalities interested in understanding forests in their community. And this program is through Cornell and the Hudson River Estuary Program, and they will give you technical assistance. You create a team, and the program runs from June of 26 to June of 27, and the outcome will be a report describing forests in the municipality, illustrated with maps, a list of areas and/or parcels prioritized based on community goals and ecological values, and a brief report describing municipal land use policies and land protection approaches to support conservation of identified forest priorities. Given the fact that Winston Farm is still an issue, if we had a forest protection plan in place, that would govern what was going on there. And since this is free, it does require someone from the town to participate. And I've looked over the application page. It's not overwhelming. I would recommend that you go ahead with something like this if we can find someone that could participate.
Okay, thanks.
I can
Sounds
send you
great.
more
Sounds great.
information by email,
Okay, great.
but it's free. No local match.
Sounds terrific. I wish Nicole was still here.
Right.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Well, I'll send the information
Yeah.
around. I'll send it to Skip and you can send it out to
Okay.
people.
All right, I'll do that. Kevin's got his hand up.
Yeah, super quick. I sent this to you, Skip, just so everybody would know. On April 12th, there's a group called KingstonCitizens.org. I don't know if anybody's familiar with this, but they're doing a zero waste thing, Ulster Towards Zero Waste online event where they'll be talking to Greenway Environmental Services and other guests to explore possibilities for zero waste. So if you go to KingstonCitizens.org, you can look up their zero waste link. and
I did
register for
receive that and I sent it on to everyone else.
Okay, great.
I
And it was
registered.
registered.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did. I got that. Thank you. And I did send it on and a couple people have registered. So thanks. Are there any other announcements? Are there any other announcements?
No.
Are there any?
Adjourn.
Is there a movement
Move to
for
adjourn.
adjournment?
Yes.
Move to
Okay,
adjourn.
second. Okay.
Finally.
Nice.
Good
All
night,
right.
everyone.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Bye now.
Mary.
Good night.
Bye.
Good night.